getting out of my chapel seat and standing up and I sit on an in seat, like I sit right there. And I was like, I don't want to leave, but I'm on the in, so I have to get up and leave right now. And so I remember like getting up and then going into another row. And I was like, I'll just be like a little bit late for my class, and that's fine. And then I like remember standing there and being like, this feels different, like this is so different. And so I like took off my backpack and I was like, all right, just like I'm right here, like what's going on? And I looked around and like a couple of my friends were there and we were just like worshiping Jesus. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. And so I opened up my Bible to Psalm 31, and it says in verse 19, oh, how abundant is your goodness, which you have stored up for those who fear you, and work for those who take refuge in you in the sight of the children of mankind. And my first thought was, oh my gosh, abundantly more. And over the past couple of days, or like the days following that, every time I would open up my Bible, no joke, it would say something about like abundantly more, abundance of goodness, of grace, of mercy. And I was like, oh my gosh, Jesus, like, what are you trying to show me here? And so I was just kind of like, man, Jesus, like, you didn't have to do any of this, like, there's 20 of us, like, this is crazy, we're worshiping Jesus. And then, like, it kept growing and growing and growing, and I was like, Jesus, like, this is abundantly more, this is so cool. And then I had the opportunity to go and worship, or lead worship with Zeke and a couple other people. And I was like, Jesus, like, this is abundantly more. Like, if you had told me 2 weeks ago that I was going to be, like, leading worship or praying over people or talking about how Jesus was going to move in my life, like, I literally would not have believed you at all. But I remember being like, Jesus, this is so cool. And then on Thursday, I was like, man, like, I am not, like, worthy of, like, being up here leading or any of this. And he was like, no, Sarah, like, you are mine and I have chosen you, and so I'm going to continue to give you abundantly more because I love you. And so, I realized that, like, if I want to continue to, like, love Jesus and experience his goodness and his presence and, like, the abundance of his love, then I have to continue to surrender and lay everything down at his feet. And it's a daily choice, minute-to-minute choice that I am not his. And to experience his goodness, I have to be willing to give everything to him. And I think in that, that's so beautiful because it's freeing, knowing that whatever trials I go through, whatever like high mountaintop experiences like revival or like really Monday, Wednesdays before chapel, like he does give me abundantly more, and that's just such a huge blessing. And I think going into that, like, just knowing that he has a perfect plan for me. I came into Asbury not as a believer. I was super angry, did not want anything to do with Jesus, and he did not have to do any of it, but he totally turned my life around. And like, I have a call to missions now. I'm going to Kenya for 6 weeks over the summer. Like, he didn't have to do that. But yet he called me back home, and he is continually showing me how good he is, and I just want everyone to know that so bad, that like he is so good. And so yeah, I pray that you guys will just know that when you do fall in love with him, and that you do realize that he wants to be your friend, that he will give you abundantly more because you are precious in his sight and he loves you. And so yeah, that's all I have.